All right, rock and roll. Welcome to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I'm your host, John, and if you could be so kind, hit that like and subscribe button. We welcome all here, friend and foe, sinner and saint, and we offer a little more raw and honest and unabridged view of the day's news. We think, well, I do. I guess we, as us, as me, on this venue, that legacy media is bunch of bullshit. I mean, really, they're corrupted by the money, they're corrupted by the power, and they're corrupted by the access. Thankfully, I'm poor, uninformed, and inaccessible. So that makes me the perfect person to comment, right? Here we are, we're holding the powers that be accountable, we're taking no prisoners, we're telling no lies, and let's burn it all down to the earth. Okay. Happy weekend. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope the week wasn't too bad. I hope you have a very enjoyable Saturday here. And we got some things in the news. It seems like Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, the chief law enforcement person in the United States, done a little insider trading. Ho ho! John, what you say? You saying there's some corruption in the Trump administration? I think there might be some. Seems like Pam Bondi sold between $1 and $5 million in Trump media stock on Liberation Day. Remember that was the day in April when he said, we are going to institute 145% tariffs on China. Everybody's going to get tariffed, blah, 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 blah. Well, she seemed to get to the market a little before that announcement and sell an enormous amount of stock. And I have actually heard Peter Doocy, the Fox reporter, ask pointedly Carolyn Levitt, was there some short selling inside this administration? And she said, absolutely not. They would never do that. Yeah, I guess she wasn't looking over at DOJ, right? So after they announced Liberation Day, the stock markets cratered for 3 days. Good thing Pam got out in time, right? On April 2nd, which was Liberation Day, Trump media stock was trading at approximately $30 a share. The market closed that day on April 2nd for Trump media stock at $18.76. Wow. That's almost a 40% drop. I don't think Pam had any inside information. She probably just used her gut instinct, huh? Yeah. I mean, really? And I'm going to tell you something. When the Democrats take back the House next year, they better damn well put some investigations on who in this administration did short selling. These people in the administration act like they are never going to be out of power. And they are here to make as much money as they can off the United States ATM and the American people and their sweat and their toil and their taxes as they can. This lady, man, oh man, this is ripe. Just like we've seen with the crypto scam and everything else, right? Also, we're learning in the news that Walmart is going to pass on the tariff prices next month that they have been assessed to the consumer. Now, for a year, we heard our erstwhile Führer, Donald Trump, tell us that China was going to pay the tariff, that Americans weren't going to have to pay it. Oh, kind of like he said prices were going to come down on day one of his administration, and they literally have been going up ever since. But now he says, we all knew there was going to be some pain. Yeah, okay, sure there is. A lot more than we thought. I didn't know we were all masochistic, right? Seems like we're discovering quite a bit about ourselves as we go through this political journey with Fat Don. So, if you remember correctly, last month, Amazon said that they were going to put in the box next to the price what also the tariff additional surcharge would be. And then they walked it back. Trump called Bezos Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said it was a hostile act by a company, that they never did that for inflation. Well, first of all, you don't know what the price of inflation is. And second, believe me, Biden didn't want inflation. He didn't intentionally do it. Trump is intentionally doing the tariffs. And I'm going to tell you something you're not going to hear anywhere else. If Walmart does it, which I know they are, Amazon is going to follow suit. I've heard that some of these other sites, I don't go to Temu, I don't go to some of these other sites. I have heard from friends that they are already putting the tariffs on. They're showing the tariff in a box. That's where it all comes to an end for Trump and his administration. When people think they're getting gouged because of things intentionally done by the administration, let me tell you something. That is going to be a 180 from the American electorate. Look, and at the end of the day, Trump thinks, I'm a lame duck president, it's not going to affect me. Good luck trying to get your legislation passed when all these members in the House are going to be running in 17 months, 18 months for re-election. Good luck. And we're also seeing it with the House bill. We saw it got stopped in committee yesterday, which is a really good thing. We're going to see if this one big, beautiful bill comes through. Look, at the end of the day, the Republicans have to get a victory, okay? Whether it's Trump, whether it's the House members, whatever. What the bill is going to look like, you have literally 6 or 7 different factions. And being a Democrat, we've had to deal with multiple factions inside one big tent, let's call it. Well, now the Republicans are looking at it. You're looking at moderates. You're looking at moderates who want to save Medicaid. You have very conservative members who want to cut Medicaid. You have people who want to increase defense. You have people who want to cut climate change initiatives. They want to get rid of EV credits, things like that. We are going to see what the final bill, supposedly, Mike Johnson says that he's going to have his bill ready to go to the Senate by Memorial Day. I think that's a wish list on a wish list, but okay. Maybe it is. We'll find out. They're going to be in committee all weekend trying to get the 5 members who stopped it, the very conservative Chip Roy, et cetera, guys like that, who say there wasn't enough cuts. And what their argument is, if I don't get the cuts now, what am I going to get? And Trump, and this bill, does the classic political bullshit. They put the cuts in Medicaid till 2029. Oh, yeah, we're going to save all this money in 2029 when he's out of the White House. And look, they all do it. George Bush said we're going to get out of Iraq in 2013. Oh, Obama happened to be the president. Obama said we're going to get out of Afghanistan in 2018 when he was gone. Trump said we're going to get out of Afghanistan in 2021 when he was gone. The only guy who had any cojones in this whole process was Joe Biden. He actually said, okay, fine, let's just get out of there. And that didn't go well. We all know the political thought there. We all have the pictures of them all running down the runways at Afghanistan, okay? But out of the last 5 presidents, he's the only guy who had the cojones to actually do something. Okay, whatever it is. Not presidents, but presidential terms. Excuse me. I misspoke, okay? But more than a pretty face. Damn you all. Damn you all to hell. All right. Seems like Homeland Security, well, we got Kristi Noem back in the news, is asking the Defense Department for 20,000 National Guard to help with the immigration and deportation process that they want to start ramping up in the second half of this year. Now, this is the first time it's happened, but a little tidbit that came out of the National Republic said that they've already taken over 2,000 ATF, DEA, and U.S. Marshals to help with arrest in the past 2 weeks. Wow. What's that doing for the law and order president? Huh? I'm sure there's no criminals who are getting away with stuff because they're too busy scooping up immigrants over there in the Home Depot parking lot, right? Do we feel safer? All right. Also in the news, seems like Apple is moving its iPhone manufacturing from China to India. one of the nice little things that the big companies are able to do is they can move their manufacturing to countries that have lesser tariffs. The little guy can't. Super producer Stacy was telling me about a story. She has a friend, Eric, and he has a business that relies on imports, Chinese goods, things like that. And his order was somewhere, let's just say $400. I know I'm not going to be exactly right. And, you know, it's a normal order. He's a small business. He's just trying to figure out what his customer base is. You know, okay, fine. And he got there and they told him, oh, there's going to be a $450 surcharge for the tariff. And he says, I don't have it. And they told him point blank, if you don't come up with that money, you can never get another order. Oh my God, what are you going to do then? Right? You literally are stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't know if Eric had to go out and get bottles and cans or what he had to do, but you know, he has so much money for expenditures, for goods, things like that. You aren't expecting to get another 125% added surcharge on top of it. Businesses just don't have that allocation. You know, it's like I told you the story from Flexport. And he was talking about one of the importers of summer furniture. And he ordered $60 million worth of furniture that was coming in on a container ship. When he got to the port of Los Angeles, they wanted another check for $85 million. And they told him point blank, if you don't come up with the check, you're not going to get your goods. Plus, we're going to initiate legal proceedings. We're going to sue your company. We're going to go after it. Now, look, it's going to take a long time for that to happen, but make no mistake, he's not going to get another item from China while he owes that money. And where are you going to come up with $85 million? The only person who can do that is if, you know, you have Trump coming up with another crypto scam for you. 85 million? That's just a drop in the bucket. Yeah, right? $400 million plane, $5.5 billion resort on the shores of Qatar. Don't you fret. I got scams and I got grift and I got grift on grift. Yeah, God bless, right? All right. Let's talk about the most soulless human being that I've seen in quite a while, Kristi Noem. That no in Noem stands for no soul, no heart, no recourse, and no empathy. Seems like this week we found out the depths of this soulless human being. You know, the dog killer had to put her dog down. I got a gun. I know how to use it. Hope I don't get any blood on my cosplay outfit. Representative Robert Garcia, in hearings in the House this week, asked Kristi, and really, the House ought to pull this crazy human being in there every week, and asked about the gay hairdresser who was detained in Miami airport, and he had a tattoo of a crown on his arm. Now, the administration thought that this was some type of gang symbol, and they deported him. No due process, no habeas corpus, no nothing. We're going to put him on a plane. We're going to put him in the prison. And, you know, I mean, really, and we've talked about this, and I really don't think legacy media really gives this enough credence or air, is that they're not just getting deported. You know, most people are thinking, okay, they got deported to San Salvador. They don't realize they're being put in prison for the rest of their life, and they have committed no crime. You know, if there was a crime, you know, like the administration claims about Abrego Garcia, that he did all these things, bring him into court, put him in jail. And then if you want, ship him out, that's fine. But they're not even giving the guy due process. They're just shipping him off without any of that, right? Well, Robert Garcia asked her, you know, told her about the tattoo, and that was a tribute to his father who had recently passed away from cancer, right? You are my king. That was what it was. And he asked Kristi Noem if this gentleman was alive. He's got a lot of play in the news. She says, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. That boy, she's really doing a lot. She's doing a heck of a lot down there. Then Garcia came back around and asked probably the most humane question I've heard in quite a while. She says, for his mother would like to know if he is alive. And she said, point blank, I do not have jurisdiction over that issue. I cannot tell you. You know, these cases, Abrego Garcia, this gentleman. They're in the news. They're getting a lot of publicity. I do not, for the life of me, understand how this administration cannot at least let them be in contact with their loved ones. They committed no crime. They weren't given due process, which is afforded everybody under the Constitution, citizen and non-citizen. And, you know, this could be our brothers, sisters, moms, dads, nieces, uncles, you know. It could be anybody. And until it comes to our door, I guess people just don't give a rat ass. All right, talking about rat ass. Let's talk about the biggest grifter of them all, Donald Trump. Seems like my boy, Bruce Springsteen. Love the boss. He seems like he went on a European tour, and his first stop, he decried the President of the United States. Wow, what a shock, right? Now, Bruce is on the progressive side. He's on the Democratic side. He's campaigned for numerous Democratic candidates. He did a podcast with Barack Obama for a while. He campaigned for him. He campaigned for Kamala. He's done a lot of erstwhile type of progressive things. And on his first stop on his European tour, which is the first concert he's had since Trump was elected president, he called them corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous. All right, nice use of adjectives, Bruce. I would add in mother effer, but okay. Calling on all who believe in democracy and the best of our American experience to rise with us. Raise your voices against authoritarianism and let freedom ring. Yeah, we were born to run, Bruce. God bless you. Well, Don the Con didn't take that too well. You know? Doesn't know what's going on with Abrego Garcia, but boy, he sure hears the boss. When the boss talks, he's all in it. So his True Social post on Friday, I'm surprised he was able to do that because I'm sure he was golfing somewhere, said, Bruce Springsteen is not a very talented guy. You know, you could probably say a lot about Bruce, but it'd be pretty damn hard to say he's not talented. But, you know, that's like saying Donald Trump is height, weight, proportionate. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what you're saying, right? He says in the post that, oh, God, I cannot believe he said this. God, sometimes you just got to laugh at the stuff Trump says. He calls him this dried out prune of a rocker. His skin is all atrophied. First of all, I know he didn't type that because he wouldn't be able to spell atrophied past the A and the T, okay? He thinks trophy is spelled with a Y, not an I, okay? Just saying, right? He said he ought to keep his mouth shut until he gets back into the country. That's just standard fare. Then we'll all see how it goes for him. And then he says he has no right to criticize the President of the United States. Now, I want to go back in the time capsule. Do you think we had anybody in the year 2024 who criticized the sitting President of the United States, Joe Biden? Let's see, who would that be? It rhymes with con, and the last name rhymes with dump. Don Trump. Yeah, exactly. How many times did he criticize Biden? Oh, thin-skinned Don can't handle it when somebody else says something about him, but boy, he can go for 12 months criticizing Biden and Kamala, even though she wasn't even the president, right? You know, you wonder sometimes when you're talking about the Republicans if they really do understand how hypocritical they are on any level. I don't know. I think it's just the lusting for power that is all they care about. But at some point, I keep thinking they're going to look in the mirror and go, God, man, we're so full of shit. I just really think that. You know, I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Republicans. They're smart people. And I just don't understand how when Donald Trump said that he was going to put tariffs on, that they didn't realize the tax was coming to us. We were paying the bill. And that when he wants to take away due process rights from quote unquote immigrants because he doesn't want to spend the time to legally deport them because that doesn't fit his mass schedule, his mass deportation schedule, that those due process rights eventually that they take away from the immigrants are going to be taken away from us. You know, we're out here fighting. We're fighting for the immigrants, but we're also fighting for ourselves. And they don't, you know, this is where, and I see these videos about these Mexican families, Hispanic families, and they got the Trump flags, and they got the Trump flags. And then 6 months later, right now, we're seeing them, they took my brother. They deported my brother. How can they ruin my family? Jesus Christ. The problem is with the Republicans is they think that that is not going to apply to them, right? This is the issue with the Republicans, and everybody remember this. The Republicans want to live in a nation full of laws, but they don't want to be governed by them. And that really is what the crux of the matter is. They sit there and they say, you know, everybody else needs to apply those laws. They don't apply to me. They don't apply. The law is the law until you want to take my TikTok. And then that law, that doesn't count. We're going to throw that law away. We're going to suspend it. But if we're going to make up some bullshit law on, you know, getting rid of due process, that's cool. Because it doesn't apply to me. I know people who have members of their family who receive Medicaid. And I'm all for it. I am. Kumbaya, man. I'm good with it. Okay? But they support the Republican agenda of, hey, man, let's cut it. It's all the immigrants. All the immigrants. It's always the immigrants, isn't it? It's always them. They're always the boogeyman, right? That, hey, we got to stop them from getting all the free government services except for their family members who, quote unquote, according to some Republicans, get free services. I don't think it's like that, but okay. What am I? I'm just a liberal, right? At the end of the goddamn day. I just remember this, all my Democratic friends and my Republican friends out there too. They think that they want to live in the nation full of laws and rights, but they don't want to be governed by them. They don't think they apply. Hey, I voted for Trump. He's not going to take away my federal job. He's not going to take away my state job. When my state has a natural disaster, he's going to come and help us. Hey, how's that working out, South Dakota and Arkansas? And wait, Florida, your day's coming. Hurricane season's right around the corner. Starts June 1st. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. And when I mean hurricane season, I ain't talking about the Carolina Hurricanes who are kicking ass on their way to the Stanley Cup, right? All right. Friday was a bad day again for Donald Trump on the legal front. Seems like the Supreme Court blocked his trying to move forward with deportation under the 1798 Enemy Aliens Act for the group of immigrants in northern Texas. The Supreme Court sided with the Venezuelans who feared they were poised for imminent removal under the sweeping wartime authority. And as we've talked about, he is saying that an enemy government is launching an invasion on the United States, i.e. these illegal immigrants. First of all, Venezuela has not declared an act of war on us. Just because some citizens of theirs come into our country illegally does not mean they are launching a war with the United States. It's a pretty effing liberal view of the term. The decision is a significant loss for Trump, who wants to use the law to speed up deportations, i.e. not have to use due process. He does not want to have to bring them into court and in front of a judge that he appoints, hear their case. Because, hey, I want 2 million people deported this year, and it's going to take too long. Look, at the end of the day, you either believe in liberty or you don't believe in liberty. It's not a time expedient thing. And habeas corpus, which gives them weeks to mount a legal defense, get lawyers, present a defense, they want to eliminate that too. No, we don't need habeas corpus and due process. Yeah, right. Great, huh? The court also, in its ruling yesterday, referenced the Abrego Garcia case. Now, this is an interesting caveat. The Trump administration, in all court filings on the Abrego Garcia, has said it was an administrative error. The court actually talked about that and said, if you have an administrative error and then you claim you can't get them back, then we have to take our time before we deport them. Now, see, the Trump administration is caught between a rock and a hard place. Because they say, hey, we've got to get these people out fast, not use the Constitution, not use the Bill of Rights, but if we make a mistake, we can't do anything. Now the court said, hey, if you can't even rectify such an egregious error as in Abrego Garcia, then you do need to institute habeas corpus and due process. We'll see how the Trump administration deals with that. I'm sure it'll take them a long time to get the coloring books out and make pictures of what the court decision was so they can fully understand it. Jesus Christ, right? Let's get back to our last story. Oh, man. I just love you people. I love you people so much. I don't even know you, but I appreciate the comments. Leave those comments, okay? And here, this last story on a beautiful Saturday is going to go out to Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan represent highest concentration, highest number of Palestinian Americans living in America. Heavy Muslim population there. Seems like the Trump administration is working behind the scenes to permanently relocate up to 1 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Now remember, there's only 2 million there. There's only 2, so he's going to move 50% of them out in the first load to, wait for it, Libya. We're not going to move you to the middle of the Egyptian desert because we'd have to build up the infrastructure for water, sanitation, stuff like that. And we don't got time for that. We're too busy accepting planes and golf resorts, okay? The plan is under such serious consideration that they've actually engaged in talks with Libya. And I was thinking to myself, how are they going at Libya? How are they getting this? And then it all becomes apparent. Seems like after Omar Gaddafi, the Libyan leader who was involved in the Lockerbie plane explosion, we seized billions of dollars of their money and kept it frozen in accounts. Now Trump is talking about unfreezing those billions of dollars of money if they take these refugees. Boy, man, the carrot and the stick. The carrot and the stick, right? There you go. I'm telling you, all you people who had that protest vote against Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, Genocide Joe and Killer Kamala, hope you can get some plane tickets on Expedia over to Libya. Tripoli is beautiful this time of year. Yeah, unbelievable, huh? All right, that's it for Scorched Earth today. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. I love you all. We're in this together, and we're going to win because we're on the side of right. We're on the side of good, and we're fighting for democracy. You go out there, and you have a beautiful weekend, and we'll see you soon on Scorched Earth.